Before we begin this powerful and emotional story of a Navy officer and former President Trump that will leave a mark on your heart, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a story that truly matters. The Atlantic wind blew cold as the USS Valor glided steadily under a sky brushed with golden sunrise. Sailors stood lined on the deck, their posture rigid with discipline. This wasn't just any day. President Donald Trump was coming aboard to pay tribute to the veterans. The loud thump of helicopter blades echoed above as Marine One approached for landing. The air buzzed with anticipation. Cameras flashed, flags waved. Commander Isla Vance stood tall in formation, her uniform perfectly neat. Her face, unreadably, a faint emotion flickered in her eyes. As President Trump stepped off the helicopter, his gaze swept the lineup of officers. He moved down the line, returning salutes until he reached Isa. She met his eyes, but didn't raise her hand. A ripple of gasps traveled through the deck. The sudden silence was deafening. Even the wind held its breath. Captain Hale stepped forward cautiously, whispering, "Commander Vance." That was the president. Isa remained still. Her eyes didn't show anger, only a sorrow deeper than the sea. The president slowly lowered his hand. "Commander," he said calmly, "may I ask why?" Isa paused, then spoke in a low voice. "You'll understand when I tell you about someone named Everett." The president's face showed confusion. He looked toward his aides, then back at Isa. "Everett who?" "Everett Vance," she said. "My younger brother, killed in the line of duty." Once again, the silence returned. The name Everett Vance seemed to hang in the air like a brewing storm. Trump, visibly unsettled, gave a respectful nod. "We'll talk later, Commander." He moved on down the row, but the entire energy on deck had shifted. Cameras turned away awkwardly. Crew members threw curious glances toward Isa. Even the sea felt quieter. Below deck, Isa stood alone in the ship's galley, gripping a mug of untouched coffee. Captain Hales found her there. "You realize this is going to go viral," he said quietly. "Let it," Isa replied softly. "Why now?" he asked. "You've served honorably for 20 years. Why make this stand today?" Isa inhaled deeply. "This isn't about disrespect, it's about unfinished truth." Hales studied her carefully. "Is this really about Everett?" Isa nodded, her eyes moist. "He died during a covert operation. Officially, they said enemy fire. But months later, I received a letter from him, one he wrote before the mission." "What did it say?" Hales asked, almost whispering. "He uncovered something, evidence pointing to a U.S. contractor involved in illegal arms trafficking. The last line said, 'If I don't make it back, tell someone who can change everything.' And you believe the president needs to know this?" "I'm certain," Isa said, "because the man Everett was investigating. He was here today." That night, news broadcasts were flooded with coverage of Trump's visit, but headlines quickly centered on Commander Vance's refusal to salute. Social media exploded with opinions. But Isa remained unfazed, sitting in her cabin, holding Everett's letter. The ink had faded, but his words remained powerful. "They've pulled me into something rotten. Isa, it's more than the mission. Us weapons handed to the enemies, we're meant to stop." He named a man in his letter, Broen K.A. Full name, Broen Kane, a billionaire defense contractor and war profiteer, who had walked the deck earlier behind the president. Isa remembered the day Everett's belongings were returned, no fanfare, just a folded flag. His final letter had been hidden in a boot. The official report said he died by enemy hands. But Isa now knew he had died for trying to tell the truth. A knock came at her door. It was Ensign Jordan Tate. "Commander," he said nervously, "the president wants to see you. He said he's ready to hear about Everett." Isa's heart pounded. "Then let's finish what my brother started." In a small, secure briefing room, Trump sat at a table, only to aides nearby. Isa entered in full uniform. Trump dismissed the others and spoke first. "Commander Vance, I've never had an officer refuse a salute. I'm not angry, but I want to understand." Isa gently placed a letter on the table. "This was written by my brother before he died." She laid out the whole story: Everett's mission, the inconsistencies in his discovery of Broen Kane's criminal activities. Trump read the letter carefully. His face changed. First confusion, then grim understanding. "I had no idea," he murmured. "Broen's always appeared clean. He's even donated to several campaigns." "He's not clean," Isa said firmly, "and Everett died to prove it. I'm not here for headlines. I want justice." Trump stared at her, unusually quiet. Then he gave a slow nod. "I'll look into this personally. I'll need evidence and time." Isa stood straight. "That's all I ask. My salute isn't gone. It's just waiting for the right moment." He met her eyes with new respect. "Then I'll earn it, Commander." That night, Isa decrypted a USB Everett had hidden. It held one audio file: Everett whispering in urgency. "Operation Fire Trail is compromised. They're arming rebels with American weapons. Broen Kane oversees it. If I vanish, you'll know why." It wasn't court evidence, but it was a starting point. She transferred the file to a secure drive. Soon after, she received an encrypted message. 0200 hours. Cargo hold. Come alone. Signed DB. Isa stared at the screen. Could this be related to Everett? She left a message for Hales. If I'm not back by 0300, check my phone. At the cargo hold, Isa found a man waiting in the shadows. Mid-50s, sharp eyes. Commander Vance. He asked your DB. He nodded. David Breener. I served with Everett. He gave me something before he died. I've been hiding ever since. Breener handed over a flash drive. It has everything: emails, shipment logs, evidence. They're using Navy supply routes to move weapons off the books. Isa took it. I'll give this to the president. You trust him? Breener asked. Isa hesitated. Not yet, but I have to try. By morning, Isa gave the flash drive to Trump's security team, marked for his eyes only. Later that day, Trump called her again. If this checks out, he said, Kane's finished. But we need caution. He still has influence. If he senses anything, he'll vanish. I understand, Isa replied. Trump added, I'm bringing in independent investigators. No leaks, no military connections. You're now part of that team. Commander. Isa straightened. I'm ready, sir. Trump nodded. When this is over, Everett's name will be cleared. At a formal ceremony, Rowan Kane arrived, cheerful, joking, shaking hands. When he greeted Isa, she stayed cold. Trump watched. Silently. Later, Isa saw Trump hand Kane a sealed folder. Kane's expression turned pale. He forced a smile. You'll regret this. No, Trump replied. You will. That night, Kane tried to escape the ship via private boat. He didn't make it. Military police intercepted him. Trump had already alerted the DOJ. You were right. Trump told Isa he would have slipped away. Isa, shaking, exhaled. Maybe now Everett can rest. The next morning, during the flag raising, Trump approached Isa. This time, he raised his hand in a salute. Isa paused, then returned it. One solid salute. No words, just respect. After Kane's arrest, whispers of the scandal spread across military circles. Some celebrated, others were stunned. But aboard the USS Valor, there was quiet pride. That night, Isa stood by the stern. Ensign Tate approached. About your brother. I'm sorry. Isa smiled faintly. He was quiet. Followed me everywhere. Wanted to fly like me. Why didn't you come forward earlier? He asked. I didn't know who I could trust, and I wasn't sure anyone would believe me. But the president did, Tate said. Isa looked out to sea. Maybe that's the lesson. Even the most powerful people need reminders of what truth really looks like. In her quarters, Isa opened a drawer with years' worth of unsent letters to Everett. Birthdays, holidays, regrets. That night, she added one more. Everett, justice came. Kane's gone. The president listened. You weren't a ghost. You were the spark. You were never forgotten. For the first time, she felt he heard her. Later that week, as Trump left the ship, he handed Isa a small bronze medal for Everett. The country owes him more than words. Isa's hands trembled as she held it. I've ordered his mission declassified, Trump added. His name will be honored. She saluted him without hesitation. He returned it. You honored your brother. Now the nation will too. 1 month later, at Arlington Cemetery, Isa stood before the Navy Memorial. A new engraving read, Lieutenant Everett Vance, fallen in pursuit of truth. She placed the medal at the base. Strangers passed, some saluted, others bowed. Everett's name was now part of history. The story of Isa and Everett spread. A reporter asked for an exclusive. Isa declined. This isn't about me. It's about protecting others who still served. Tell the story, but protect the names that matter. The article went viral when the officer who refused to salute and why her silence said more than words ever could. In the Oval Office, Trump reread Everett's letter. Melania found him staring out the window. You're quiet, she said. He nodded. Some truths are heavier than others. But you did what was right, she reminded him. I hope so. That officer reminded Muriel power comes from honesty. Months later, Isa was promoted to Captain Vance. She walked the deck of a newly commissioned ship, the USS Everett, named in her brother's honor. Sailors saluted her not just for rank, but for her courage. Tate stopped by her office. I want to become an intelligence officer, he said. Why the change? She asked. So what happened to Everett never happens again. Isa shook his hand. Then make it count. At a Memorial Day event, Trump spoke aboard the USS Everett. She once refused my salute and I'm glad she did. Because in her silence, she helped this nation see the truth again. He saluted her. And this time, the entire deck followed. Later that night, Isa wrote her final letter. Dear Everett, you said truth was worth dying for. Today, it saved lives. Your name echoes across the sea, and I salute you forever. She placed it beside his medal. And as the ship sliced through the open waters, Captain Isla Vance stood tall, her heart at peace, knowing that sometimes one quiet act of defiance can speak louder than 1,000 words. The end.